was or used to be our sound man, is now restricted to California, right around San Francisco, because of having been busted there 3 years ago.
Yeah. How do you look upon the English festivals?
I haven't been to one yet.
You've not heard about them at all?
Oh, a little bit, Hyde Park and so forth. I think that it's one of those things. You can't about a festival. You can't know what it was like unless you were there. You can only sort of extrapolate from your own experience, whatever that's been.
After Altamont, Keith Richards said that the Angels should not be blamed at all, because how can, however many Angels there were there, control 350, 450,000 people?
No.
In Hyde Park, there are at least 250,000 people there who were controlled.
Well, so are they at Woodstock, but there was no control at Woodstock. With Woodstock and Altamont, the same situations were prevailing in terms of how it was for the people there. It was free, essentially, and it was also completely without control of any sort. There were no police. I mean, there's no way you can realistically control that size, really. You can't expect to. The way I saw it, both of those situations being sort of like two sides of the same coin. It's like two ways that kind of expression can go. A huge number of people and no rules. And one of the ways, obviously, it can go is into a terrible bummer like Altamont, and one of the other ways is into an immensely joyful scene like Woodstock. And they both had their extremes, but they were both sort of characterized by a kind of by this heaviness, man, this sort of historical heaviness, Lots of people, more people than you've ever seen in your life,
You said that Stan Cutler was regarded as an outlaw.
Well, in a manner of speaking, for example, all the media called him a murderer behind Altamont. In reality, he was like the innocent victim of circumstances, just like everybody there was, just like the guy who got killed was, in fact,
Does this not bother you at all, really?
No, it doesn't, because we've never been those people anyway. I mean, we've never had much approval in front, right? We've always been sort of an outlaw group on our own, just because that's who we are. And so, no, it doesn't.
Have your work permits come through now?
For the festival, yes. For the other gig, the one at the that would have been at the Lyceum, I don't think so. But I don't really know what sort of machinations are involved,
What else can you tell me about the festival scene, in the States? Are festivals going in the States?
Right now, they're sort of suspended because of the amount of confusion in the cities and in colleges. I mean, America is in a state of what looks like revolution. And it's not at all isolated. It's very widespread, and the authorities are starting to think in terms of festivals being a part of that. They're afraid of another Altamont, but they're also afraid of another Woodstock,
What kind of relationship actually do you have with the Angels?
Our relationship with the Angels is that we both exist in essentially the same area, and we both know that each other exist, and they outnumber us about 90 to 1, and we get along okay with them. I mean, those guys are guys that we all know. We've known them for years, and we don't have any fight with them, but we do know that they are Hell's Angels, and that they're capable of doing a lot of pretty amazing things, and we just stay out of their way.
Have you actually asked them to safeguard or even do any bodyguard work for you?
Well, at times they've found themselves in that position. We don't have to ask them to do that, but like when we did the be-in the park back in, I forget when, 66, I guess, 67 or 66, the Angels were at that scene strictly just to be there, just Hell's Angels being there, and it seemed like it would be a good thing to be at music and all. And they've sort of found themselves in a position of taking care of lost kids, watching the stage, that kind of thing, They just started doing it. Nobody asked them to do it.
What about the relationship with people like the Minutemen or the Weathermen?
Well, the Weathermen are a campus phenomena. They don't really stretch out into our aspect of society is not a college trip, and it's not we're part of a whole huge community of head adults, if there's any label. That's who we are. There's a lot of us, and we've been doing what we've been doing for a long time. Movie makers, musicians, painters, craftsmen of every sort, people doing all kinds of things, and that's like what we do. That's what we do. That's the way we live our life.
To your knowledge, when the about 500 students came down from Vancouver and raided raided Washington, came right down as far as Eureka in California. What was the situation? There's a pretty heavy scene in British Columbia, isn't there, at the moment?
I haven't been there. Haven't been there for about a year, so I don't really know. But I do know that none of that, any waves from that didn't come down as far as where we are in California, Marin County. Like whatever they did probably was, I don't know. I don't really know anything about that.
What's the situation with the California groups at the moment? With people like the Airplane? I mean, are they splitting?
No, everybody's still playing together. The Airplane have gone through a few changes. They have a new drummer now.
Danny Covington.
No, Joey Covington. That's the name, right.
And Grace Slick was rumored to be leaving as well.
No. I see the way the Airplane do what they do is that they work for like 3 months and then they don't do anything for a year. They just goof for a year. And that's kind of like, that's what they do. That's the way they do it. That's the way that's most comfortable to them, I guess, But they're still playing. The Airplane have a spin-off group called Hot Tuna. Have you heard about Hot Tuna?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Right. Well, that's kind of like what the musicians in the Airplane are doing.
Yeah, I'm still also in a sort of embryonic stage, though. They're still working it out.
Yeah, sure. But see, that's the fun of it, really. I mean, of playing.
Have you tried this at all?
Sure, we have a couple of spin-off groups. Sometimes myself and Phil and the 2 drummers play together in a group called Mickey Hart and the Heartbeats. And I also have another band called the New Riders of the Purple Sage that I don't play guitar in. I play pedal steel in. And I don't sing or anything. I just play pedal steel. And it's like some other friends of ours from around the Bay Area. In fact, we just played the Fillmore East and really had a great time, well received.
What's your relationship with Zappa?
I don't even know Frank, really. I went to one of his recording studios, one of his recording sessions once, but he's got his own scene completely, and he's not from San Francisco or anything, he's from Los Angeles, and that's where he works generally, or New York.
Do you regard him as sort of a pioneer of any West Coast scene that was ever happening or is happening now?
I would regard him as a kind of a pioneer in music, but not as a pioneer of a scene, because the Mother's music is unique, really, So in that sense, he's invented a kind of music,
What can you tell me about the settlements at the
communes?
Yeah, the communes in Arizona and New Mexico.
Well, there's lots more successful ones in places like Georgia, Northern California, Oregon, and places where it's easier to live. See, New Mexico and Arizona are both difficult places to live. They have harsh winters. There's not a lot of fertile ground, and there isn't much water. And the ecology and economy of both of those states is like very slim. It's borderline at best. It can only support a handful of people, really.
Is Lester Maddox actually allowing communes to be set up in Georgia?
I don't think he knows anything about it. I don't see why he would, because like when somebody gets together a commune, that is to say a group of people who are going to live together and work the land and so forth, it's like they don't usually tell the cops, right? They usually just go and do it.
But they usually find out. I mean, Lester Maddox is a hard line.
He wouldn't be the guy they would be dealing with in any case. Their biggest real relationship with the outside world will be with their landlord, with the town cops and that sort of thing. And in the South, heads are at the very, very bottom of the whole social ladder, Like there are white people, and then there are poor white people, and then there are colored people, and way at the bottom are heads, long hairs. And so they're like completely ostracized by everybody else. So in that sense, they're completely free.
You envisage a proliferation of these communes being set up?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of them, and there's more than I can know about, and I'm just talking to you about the ones I know because of people I've talked to who have been there, right, and that sort of thing, and once I visited and that, it's like, in fact, there are a couple of people planning books about communes which will probably be published in the winter this year about, the United States communes.
There's a giant commune being set up in Southern California by Skip Taylor. You know Skip?
I know who he is. No, I haven't heard about the commune.
By a guy called Rick Strauss, who's forming this huge commune for groups only.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
A multi-million-dollar outfit.
Right.
Have you heard anything about that?
Not a thing. This is the first I've heard about it.
There's going to be meditation centers,
Right.
rehearsal rooms.
Right.
It'll be a group's paradise.
That'd be nice. There've been in the past all kinds of places that are sort of like that in terms of their effect, but not necessarily set up for those purposes, you know.
Getting back to Woodstock, you said it was a pretty disorderly concert.
Well, the stage itself was pretty orderly, but for example, there was no security. There was no security really, except for just minimal, you know. I mean, essentially, you can't have security for that many people. You can't do it, you know. I mean,
not unless the police are doing it themselves.
And there would have to be really a lot of police, and that many police means not many people, you know. I mean,
Have you seen the film yet?
No.
Woodstock?
No.
Will you be seeing it while you're here?
I might. I was there at the thing. I'm not really interested in seeing the film, you know.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Could you guys just sit there for a second?
Sure.